This is my brutally honest review of The Sims 4 Horse Ranch. This is a part of a series where I review every pack for The Sims 4, including all of the older ones. EA describes Horse Ranch as about making a life in the big open countryside, bonding with animals and joining a thriving community whilst raising horses. Starting off with Cass, obviously it has a Western theme, and I think the Cass suits the theme very well. It's not the most fashionable stuff, so like I know for a fact most people won't use it, but for what it's worth, they did a good job at making outfits that are appropriate for the world and aesthetic of the pack. Although weirdly, there isn't actually that much riding gear. I do appreciate that this time EA made an effort to make a balance between male and female Cass, and I genuinely feel there is a lot more of a balance this time round compared to other packs. Granted, females get a bit more as they do in real life, but I commend the effort to make it more even. Kids and toddlers get almost nothing. I'm genuinely shocked as kids can ride horses, and I know many people were excited to create family ranches with this pack. Kids and toddlers got the short straw severely, and I think it will leave some people disappointed. There definitely should have been some cute horse girly tops and more ranch appropriate clothing for kids, so this is a big miss. You can choose 2 new traits in Cass, being horse lover and rancher, and they obviously speak for themselves. There are 2 new aspirations. Now, instead of having multiple mini goals, they actually just have a few long-term goals. I really love this move. Whims have traditionally always been the short-term goals of The Sims 4. So the old school aspirations start of having mini goals is also short-term goals, and it didn't really make much sense. These aspirations do not feel tutorially at all and feel like what a long-term lifetime aspiration should be. This is something I'm really happy about, and I really hope that EA continue to do this for the future. Of course, horses are the major side of Cass. They basically work in the exact same way as cats, dogs, and werewolves. There are some different breeds, different main styles, paintbrush tools to use, and obviously some cute outfits. Although there are not many cute outfits, and I'm praying this doesn't mean we're getting a My First Pony Stuff DLC coming in 4 months. You can have foals and older horses too. I think they all look really nice, and you can tell a lot of resources went into making them good. Now, to confirm the answer to the question that you might be asking, no, unfortunately, unicorns do not come with this pack. Instead, you stick on what looks like a vibrating magic wand on your horse's heads to pretend they're a unicorn. This is something I'm going to bitch about a little bit more in the gameplay section, so I'll hold off for now. In terms of personality, horses can choose 3 out of 11 traits, which affect the way they interact with the world around them. In all though, Cass is actually a lot better than average, and I think it suits the gameplay experience well. It's getting an 8 out of 10. So taking a look at build mode, the main build thing of this pack is being able to build a stable. There isn't a stable object as such, but you can place a horse bed and then build a stable around it. The theme of build mode is a Western theme. Most of the stuff here is really nice, and there are some items for basically almost all rooms. The kitchen set is especially nice, and I think builders will get a lot of use out of this pack. Although, as with the Cass, some of the items don't really feel unique, and they all feel really similar to things that we have already, especially cottage living. If you already own cottage living, you may not need Horse Ranch as a builder. Windows and doors especially are so similar to stuff we have in other packs in the base game. It's a massive shame. The Sims 4 has outlived its lifespan by way too many years, and as a result, we're seeing a lot of rehashed and recycled content. But for what it's worth, I do really like everything here, and I don't have any faults with it. Even though it's very samey to what we already have, it is a very coherent, like rustic theme. I think it contains a lot of nice decorations too. You can definitely build a good stable and ranch house with the pack. I know not everyone owns every pack, so it's not an issue for everyone to have rehashed stuff. So if you don't already own packs like cottage living, I would say it is a fantastic pack for build mode. Now, one thing I love here is the modular wine racks, as they tie in with the nectar making gameplay, and they allow you to build a whole wine cellar, and I think it will allow builders to finally build something new, which I actually think is really exciting. Now, for the purposes of the score of this review, I'm not considering the fact that it looks similar to older pack stuff, and that's because I understand not everybody owns all of the packs. So even though for me as a person who owns every single Sims 4 pack, some of it feels a bit recycled, I understand you guys don't own every single Sims 4 pack, so I'm not considering it as a part of my score, but more so just a disclaimer. So I'm giving the build mode of this pack a 9 out of 10. I think it's extremely strong. In terms of the world, there are 3 areas with a total of 13 lots. The central area area is the main town and has a few rabbit hole experiences, including shops to buy the mini sheep, riding gear, and actually a grocery store too. There's also an equestrian center for training, adoption, selling, and competitions with horses. Even though it's not the same as having an open world, I do appreciate EA for making an effort this time around with the world and actually adding things to do. There is a ton of fake set dressing, but they at least tried to add a couple of things which weren't. However, I will say the town is literally dead and there's like never anybody anywhere, and it's really strange. Although it's a massive disappointment that the equestrian center is not enterable, as training horses and having competitions is literally a key selling point of the pack. And instead of making it gameplay, they made it a fake experience that you have to pretend is happening. The top area of the world is an open place with trails to ride your horse, although unfortunately there is nothing to do here. Sure, you can watch your Sims perform an animation of riding a horse, or you can find a frog log, but there's no brand new unique gameplay really. Although the area does come with a cave. You perform like an RPG sequence where you have like battles. It's so not like The Sims to do this, but it was actually a really cool idea. I'm not going to spoil it, but you do get some minor rewards from it, although they could have made it a secret part of the world where you enter and you find unicorns, but I digress. The bottom area is the main residential area with ranches for gameplay. The builds are all very lovely, as most lots are, thankfully, that the Sims team now employ real Sims to build them. But as with every Sims 4 neighborhood, there is no gameplay here other than pretty set dressing. Sims 4 base game world issues aside, I think the world that comes in Horse Ranch is really nice and does feel different to the Strangerville world, as I know a lot of people were worried about that. My only issue is that all of the lots are quite small, seeming the whole point of this pack is to have big open ranches. There's only one 64 by 64 lot and one 50 by 50 lot. They definitely should have resized a couple of the smaller lots so that you could have more bigger ranches, even if that meant having one less lot in the world. The world has a couple of nice things, for example, 2 rabbit hole shops, but it's still very closed off and limited and lackluster, and it's basically the same as every single Sims 4 world, guys. Considering everything, I am giving the world a 3 out of 10. Looking at gameplay, the biggest part of this pack is obviously riding horses. You cannot control them, but just to confirm, your Sims can kind of do what they do already with cats and dogs, like caring for them by brushing them and whatnot. Child Sims and above can all ride horses. Depending on whether they're a foal or an adult, they have different needs, and I must say I am impressed with the gameplay surrounding raising horse. I do actually think there's a lot of good depth to it, and just to confirm, you can breed horses and they die too. You can ride horses either relaxed, energetic, or intensely. Despite being loved by most fellow gays, bareback riding is not acceptable in The Sims 4, and you must wear a saddle. There are objects you can place on any lot to use to interact with all the horses, and all of which I thought were great. Horses have 4 skills and also a monetary value. I'm personally not a horsey person, but I know people in real life train horses and sell them on, so even though it's a little inhumane, it is realistic, and I really appreciate that. Choosing a competition at the equestrian center is great. There are tons of different competition options, although actually doing a competition is horrendous. It's entirely a rabbit hole experience, meaning you don't see what's going on. Your Sims disappear into a lot, then pop out when they're finished. There's no tension building up about the races. There's no real skill involved. It's very, very boring. And this is shockingly poor considering this is a whole expansion pack about horses. In The Sims 3 Pets, it was very similar, but I forgive it because horses were just a small part of an overall but much more ambitious and broad pack. Seeing this entire expansion pack is about horses and horses alone, I am tremendously disappointed that competitions were not considered a major part of gameplay and simply add a really shallow rabbit hole experience. In general, guys, I will say there's not really that much horsey gameplay. Like, sure, you can watch your horses go on a ride, you can watch them play on the little play things, the barrels, but there isn't really that much. With the jumping and playing equipment, you can't set up a course. It's all very isolated. Riding a horse just basically involves walking around the map. It's not that deep. The horse competitions are rabbit hole experiences. Like, there's genuinely not much gameplay here, and this is literally an expansion pack, and it doesn't feel like an expansion pack's worth of gameplay for horses. There most definitely should have been a horse veterinary live career or something, just like we had with the cats and dogs pack, just to flesh it out more. I think that would have made it a lot better, but in general, guys, if you're a horse girl, I think you will enjoy it, but I think honestly after a couple of hours, like, you will get very bored and tired because the horse gameplay is a bit same old, same old. Now, as well as horses, there are mini sheep and goats, which gameplay wise are basically the same. They look cute and that's their only real purpose, but you can get them to help with gardening, which is a bit random. The only way that you do get gameplay value out of them is if you also own cottage living, which is a little bit exploitive, to be honest. Assuming you own quite a few animals, there are a lot of things to do on a ranch. There's a ranch community board object that you can place on your lot to access all things that you can do. One of these things is community jobs, which involves like side quests. Some of these have prerequisite requirements and different unique things to do. Although just like the odd jobs features in island living or the cottage living pack, it's a little bit basic and it doesn't feel that rewarding, and I don't really think that you're going to be spending much time doing them, to be honest. If you're getting overwhelmed with life on a ranch, ranch hands are a new service working kind of like maids or butlers to help you out. They can do gardening, repair things, look after animals. Honestly, I think they're perfect even if you don't own a ranch because of how many services that they offer. Now, nectar making is something EA really pushed in their marketing of the pack. It's such a random thing to put in the pack, but you put fruit and then stamp it and it turns into nectar. I guess it kind of plays into the whole ranch thing of growing plants and harvesting them for winemaking. You can actually make nectar out of so many different random things, even including trash, which I think is really cool. If you do drink too much, your Sims become dazed, which is a family-friendly way of saying drunk. I genuinely didn't think EA would include this, but I'm glad they did, as it adds back some of the adult humor that's severely lacking in The Sims 4. Although I won't really say nectar making is really that in-depth, especially seeming that it's the only main gameplay element after the horses themselves. I would have expected them to at least go further with it or at least add something else, but they didn't. Now, there are two new social events in the pack, being Ranch Gathering and Ranch Animal Day. The Gathering is about dancing, having a barbecue and drinking nectar. It's basically exactly the same as the base game events, so I would hardly say it's brand new pack content. The Ranch Animal Day is where people come over and they pet your animals, and in exchange for these events, by the way, townies donate money to you, so it's like raising funds for your ranch, which I guess is cool. In terms of money in general though, I'm really disappointed that this pack didn't come with any careers. In my opinion, every single Sims 4 pack should come with a career, and they could have just done a rabbit hole career like a farrier or a stable boy or something, even if it's just a part-time job, maybe for teen Sims. Comparing this pack to Cottage Living, which is basically the exact same pack, even though Cottage Living didn't come with a career, it came with a brand new gameplay functionality to live off the land by producing all of your own food. And seeming Horse Ranch doesn't come with the same live off the land gameplay functionality. I feel like they should have added at least one career, especially a live career. I definitely think that would have made the pack a lot more worth the money. A more miscellaneous feature of this pack is a new dance, and even though the animation is different, it is rehashed content from Get Together Dancing. There is literally nothing for kids, nothing for toddlers either, and I'm really shocked. There most definitely should have been a rocking horse or a horse on a stick for kids and toddlers, and I'm so surprised that we didn't get it. I'm also so surprised we didn't get any ability to teach kids how to ride horses if you're an adult, or even, you know, attend some kind of rabbit hole horse riding club after school or something. There was literally nothing, and it's absolutely ridiculous because I know the kinds of people who like horses also like family gameplay, and it's such a missed opportunity. Also, there's no new woohoo or death type in the pack, and it's extremely rare for a Sims 4 pack to not come with a woohoo location or a death type. They could have made like Sims drowning in a clogged up nectar making machine or something. They could have added, okay, they couldn't have added a horse related death. That would have been a little bit too realistic and morbid, but you know, they could have added some kind of death related to maybe the mini goats and sheep, because they did that in Cottage Living with rabbits. So I just feel like they could have done something. Also with woohoo, like why is there not a new woohoo location, you know, in a hay bale or something? Maybe you could woohoo in the horse's bed or something. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like a massively missed opportunity. Now, this pack in terms of gameplay isn't really that different from the Sims 3 Pets pack, and in many ways it's actually less gameplay than the Sims 3 Pets. For example, Sims 3 Pets came with wild horses that you could tame and wild unicorns, and seeming that Sims 3 horses were a part of a wider, more ambitious Pets pack, I'm really shocked that they didn't go even deeper with the Sims 4 Horse Ranch, because this is an isolated pack. Because of that, I expected a lot more from the Sims 4 Horse Ranch, and I do not think it's worth the money. Ignoring the size of the world, ignoring Create a Sim, ignoring build mode, and solely looking at gameplay, this is honestly not that different from the Sims 4 Werewolves pack. And obviously they're like totally, completely different pack concepts. But I mean, they feel equal in terms of the amount of gameplay that they offer, especially considering that both include a brand new life state in CAS. And obviously Werewolves is cheaper than Horse Ranch. Many people have argued that it's priced as an expansion pack because it took a lot of time and effort for the Sims team to code in and animate horses. But I think this is a very unfair sentiment to have. I play a lot of adventure and RPG games in my free time, and almost all of them have horses as a minor feature. If the Sims team have a development problem in terms of making and animating horses, then that's not the consumer's problem, it's their problem. So I don't agree with this sentiment that it's worth the money because it took a long time to animate, because as a consumer, it's literally not your place to care. Is The Sims 4 Horse Ranch worth the money? Absolutely not. Considering the amount of gameplay that's there and how basic and simple the pack is, especially considering it's an expansion pack relative to the price point, unfortunately, I am going to give this pack... I'm going to make you rage. You're all going to cancel me now. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. I'm sorry. I'm just shocked at how little content there is and how the gameplay of the pack is genuinely... It feels like less horses gameplay than we had in the Sims 3 Pets pack. And horses were only like a quarter of the Sims 3 Pets pack. And it just boggles my mind that 12, 13 years on since the Sims 3 Pets, we've actually like gone back a step. Like, sure, horse got cute animations, but there's literally no gameplay. It comes with the basic fundamentals that should come with a horses pack. But considering the fact that it's an expansion pack, I cannot give this pack a good score because it's not an expansion pack's worth of content. For those of you who are rich bitches and money is no object, let's say we live in a hypothetical world where this pack actually came out for free, maybe I would give the gameplay a 7 out of 10. But considering the price point and the fact that it's in like it's not an expansion pack, okay, it's just not an expansion pack, that's why it's 3 out of 10. So taking a look at cross-pack play, now the elephant in the room is Cottage Living. Horse Ranch is Cottage Living 2.0, and as a result has a ton of crossover features. Thankfully, the cross-pack features make a lot of sense and you will really enjoy Horse Ranch with Cottage Living combined, perhaps a little bit too much, as it makes you realize how much recycled content there is. This pack is 1/3 of the Farming Ranch Stardew Valley experience offered in The Sims 4. If you really want to enjoy this pack in its fullest, you do require Cottage Living, and I must say it does make the pack a lot more fun. Horses are rideable in every single neighborhood apart from apartments in City Living, so that's really good. Nectar making has some cross-pack play. For example, if you own vampires, then you can make plasma fruit nectar, and if you own the Strangeville pack, you can make strange fruit nectar, etc. The pack also has the standard cross-pack features with get-together clubs and seasons interactions with horses and random pet interactions with cats and dogs. In all, I think this pack integrates really well with the base game and with all of the other packs actually, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 for cross-pack play. The Sims 4 is an extremely buggy game, so we must look at performance. When you travel to a new lot, your sim might kind of like T-pose as a lot loads, and then when loading on a horse, it kind of glitches out. Horses also sometimes teleport to an object instead of trotting to it. At one point, my horse was stuck in an animation loop, jumping over the fence activity over and over again, and I couldn't get it to stop no matter what I tried to do. So I actually had to delete the object in order to cancel it, which was annoying. Now, my horse did not sleep in its stable once, even though I assigned the bed to it and prompted it to sleep in the stable at night. It was just not happening. Horses for some reason will not ever sleep on their beds, and I don't know why. In terms of the ranch hand, sometimes they just wouldn't turn up, and it was weird because like I hired them, but then I double checked and it showed that I hadn't hired a ranch hand, so I had to hire it again, and I had to do it a couple of times until it worked. And even when the ranch hand did turn up, she often stayed past when she was supposed to leave and just stood idly around my house for hours, literally just standing there doing nothing, and it was really weird. Even though it was a little bit glitchy, it wasn't as glitchy as a lot of other Sims 4 packs, and you've got to get it where you can with the Sims 4 with bugs and glitches. So I'm going to be giving this pack a 7 out of 10 for performance, which I think is fair. So my total score for the pack, you're going to hate me, I'm sorry. It's going to be getting a 6.5 out of 10 overall. As with most Sims 4 pack reviews I do, the overall score is boosted by CAS and build mode, but tends to have a much lower gameplay score than everything else. The gameplay surrounding the horses themselves is really cool, but the pack fails to captivate Hate Me is a well-rounded Sims 4 gameplay experience. Value of money aside, I do think that Horse Girlies will enjoy the pack for what it has to offer and will get a few hours of fun gameplay out of it, but I think you will eventually get bored of how shallow the pack is. Thank you for watching my video on yet another reason why EA should hate me. I have a whole playlist of brutally honest reviews here, and it does get updated very regularly, so make sure you check it out. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful. I will see you in the next one.